Aman, did you get the request?
Yes, I have
Oh,
got the
yeah.
request.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yes.
I was wondering why I was taking so long, but seemingly my network issue also. Yep. So, happy Women's Day to all who have joined. And Aman,
Yes. Yes.
thank you for agreeing to do this event for us and with us. Uh, so, people who have joined will take complete advantage of the fact that Aman is a lawyer and would be able to give us complete clear picture of what is the law of workplace sexual harassment, how can it be used, and various stuff. So we'll start with the basics. So let's hear about the law from you.
So I think before I start about the provisions of law, it is more important to know the history behind it. How did we end up coming to this law? So this law for the prevention of sexual harassment against the women at the workplace. So before this, it used to operate courtesy of a Supreme Court ruling that was there in the case called Vishaka versus State of Rajasthan. So that is why there used to be a series of guidelines called the Vishaka guidelines that used to operate at all workplaces throughout the country. So the important factor was that there was a clear-cut guideline and a clear-cut provisions were made as to how to deal with sexual harassment and how it was recognized, what all constitutes sexual harassment. This was defined by the Supreme Court, because earlier what used to happen was that if such an instance has happened, then the person has to go to the police station. They have to ask them to register a case under the provisions. Either it is 354, which is for sexual harassment, or if there is a deeper case again in 376. So that was not the most ideal form for reporting of the instance. So now then, how did we get to this particular case of Vishaka? So this is primarily because there was a lady called Bhavri Devi. I'm sure a lot of you would have heard about her. So she was a women development officer in the government of Rajasthan. So I think they are more like a group of volunteers associated with the government. So she led this initiative. So she was taking initiatives for the people, one of which was to stop the child marriage of an infant of the age of 1. A 1 year old child was being married off. She tried to prevent that. She took help of the local police. They tried to prevent this marriage, but as soon as this happened, the next day itself, that 1 year old child was married off. Just imagine. To stop this, and when the police came, so later on, so there was a caste angle also in this issue. So women were having to deal with the issue of caste here as well, and also when they are doing something right, they were being targeted. And then what happened was that this lady Bhavri Devi was raped by 5 people. It was said. And then when so her husband was also beaten up. Then when she went to the police station, then also the police was also not sensitized enough then. And of course, the regular high-headedness was again witnessed by her. And then they raised all sorts of things, that you have to deposit your lehenga as the evidence. So there were at multiple instances, women were at a significant disadvantage. Not just this, the trial court had acquitted her. Even the Rajasthan High Court acquitted the perpetrators. Then what even the trial court had also not given any sentence to the perpetrators. High Court also acquitted them. I'm sure a lot of you would, some of you who have joined this would be following the Supreme Court these days. And a lot of times it is said that, no, first you go to the High Court, go under 226. That is the High Court's power to ensure that your fundamental rights are given. But in this case, also, like many others, the High Court had also not given, had let the accused go scot-free. Then, aggrieved by a bunch of NGOs, in the umbrella term, there was an umbrella NGO. It was not one person, Vishaka, but it was Vishaka as a group. They approached the Supreme Court, filed a PIL. Then the court gave out all these guidelines, the most important of which was they recognized as to what all constitutes sexual harassment. So they specifically gave instances like physical contact, advances, any demand for sexual favors, colored remarks, forcibly showing them pornography, and also unwanted physical, even verbal gestures of a sexual nature were recognized as sexual harassment. So this was one part of the essential things that was covered by the Supreme Court. Now, interestingly, so they relied upon international law, the international frameworks in order to implement this sort of a guideline. They relied on a convention called which is popularly called as CEDAW, that is Convention for Elimination of Discrimination Against Women in All Forms. So they relied upon this in order to get to these guidelines. Now, one job was that they defined sexual harassment, that what exactly does it constitute. Why was there a need? Because you have to ensure that when women or any person, if they are working, there should not be a hostile work atmosphere. So if you are working at any place, suppose I take the example of Sukoon Psychotherapy Center. So if someone is working, they will of course want a safe and secure workplace. Otherwise, you cannot expect them to function in the regular way. So there was a set of, like, in case there is any such instance of sexual harassment, how it is going to be reported. So all the workplaces need to have a committee called the Internal Complaints Committee. This was there as per the Vishaka guidelines and also as per the new act, which is basically just codified the Vishaka guidelines and done some minor tweaks just in order to streamline the processes. One of the most
Aman,
important.
For this, I think the company should. I mean, even the company as small as having, I think, 8 people need. It is
Yes.
mandatory.
Yes. So, and now the composition of this internal complaints committee has also been defined. So they defined that it has to be headed by a woman and it has to have one NGO member compulsorily in the committee. So
NGO or an external member who has
yes,
worked into
yeah.
such sort of things. Yeah.
Yeah, that person has to be having the experience of working with women's groups, etc.
Women harassment issues. Yeah, in
Yes.
some form or the other.
Yeah. So with this, and one of the most critical function of this committee was that whenever a complaint is being made, the identity of the complainant has to be kept secured. It is not supposed to be public domain. We have to ensure that the privacy of the complainant is foremounted. So yeah, unlike what used to happen that if someone has raised a complaint, then like it becomes common knowledge and then that becomes the whole object of discussion at the workplace, which, and like this also has been done in order to secure the safe working atmosphere for the women. So that if they are raising a complaint, then it is being dealt with adequately and their regular day-to-day functioning is not being affected. So these are some of the intricacies about this provision for the prevention of sexual harassment against the women at the workplace. So is there anything specific that you would like to ask Dr. Bedi, or if there are any questions that have come in?
Questions I think will come to later because interestingly, somebody's completely asked me about CGI, which I don't think at this stage we'd like to answer. Let's first stick with the
Issue.
workplace sexual harassment. So I think we need to even define what harassment is because interestingly, you did talk about the sexual harassment talked in terms of touch, vision, or basically even asking, demanding. But there's even the second part of it which talks about, using your authority. So I would like you to elaborate on that part also.
Yeah. So, like, see, even though this is a very exhaustive definition, it cannot cover everything. And then there has to be a distinction between sexual harassment and harassment. So, it should not, like, this is again, this is one of the, you could say, the gray areas. Like, it is not very gray, but it is slightly gray, to be, in order to ensure that, yeah, I'm also giving the appropriate analogy. Also, just as a disclaimer, whatever I am giving is not in the nature of legal advice. It is because I have the knowledge of law. I am doing this session. Just as a disclaimer, I thought I should give it. So yeah, now coming back to the point about this distinction. So a lot of the times we observe that there is harassment, but it does not amount to sexual harassment. Now, in this gray area, what happens is that sometimes the complaints are raised to the internal complaints committee itself. So they also need to act in the appropriate manner and ensure that it is not dealt with in the same way as sexual harassment, because there have also been instances where so proceedings were initiated under the internal complaints committee. It was said that the allegation is not true. Then a provision was there that I think this was a very famous instance I had read quite a while ago now, that so against whom the complaint was made, so after he was acquitted by the committee, so he asked that the person who has made the complaint be terminated from employment. So there is though a provision to ensure that frivolous complaints are not made, but in general, the functioning of such committees has to be in a way so that it can, because in a lot of cases there will be harassment, but it may not be amounting to sexual harassment. Because there are many instances wherein, like, suppose if there is in a particular organization or a unit, suppose the female is the head of the unit or head of the organization, there might be some instances wherein the authority of the female is not being recognized just because she is a female. Now, this per se being defined, this should not be defined under sexual harassment. That is my understanding. So there are several intricacies like this. So we have to be careful about both the instances. Like in a lot of instances, this happens in educational institutions, big offices. So we have to be careful about this distinction. But in general, in all organizations and institutions, there are committees to deal with both type of issues at the workplace.
I think what we are over here trying to say is the severity of the repercussions of what the harassment complaint is depends on what exactly is the severity, because this law doesn't only cover the just sexual harassment in the nature of being sexual in nature. It covers a larger spectrum of harassment at workplaces, and thus we have to thus the punishment based on what has happened might be different. That's where I was also coming to the idea that there is two concepts in this, where one is about actual sexual advancements in form of asking for favors, asking for demands, or doing something sexual over there physically or verbally, or showing some sort of pornography or something around that. But there's another thing is the use of power.
Yes, the use of power and the lack of acceptance of power by like lack of acceptance that yes, women is the leader. She is the top of the hierarchy in the chain of command. Because yeah, you were saying something.
I was going to add to that there's another part of it where the man might be at the power and he might be just demanding certain things based on his power also. So it happens
Yes.
both ways also.
Yes, in general, this is what happens. What I was talking about is the exception. I just wanted to
Yeah,
ensure
yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
all
Both
the
ways.
all the aspects are covered.
Yes.
In
Uh,
fact, I think at
so
this instance, I think in order to just connect it to Women's Day as well, so I think it should be pointed out that initially the aim of Women's Day was to ensure that women get equal rights, equal pay, equal working conditions in the workplace. That is how this whole movement for Women's Day started, and provisions like this in order to ensure that sexual harassment or harassment of different nature is not acceptable at the workplace is in like if that happens then adequate punishment is given. That is why all these provisions are there. So in a sense, we have been like I would not say that we have been very proactive, but at least when it has come to being reactive, the right reactions have come. Although I'm sure then because some of the audience might be well acquainted with the law as well, so they might be saying that see the Vishaka case also it happened in 1992. It reached the High Court, but till the time it came to the Supreme Court and the guidelines were made, it was 1997 in any case. So again, the issue of that
delayed
that
justice is not
yes,
justice
delayed
in a
justice.
way. Yeah.
Yeah, there is
Yeah,
like
that is surely a
yeah,
controversy.
yeah, but
But
like
interestingly, yes, you have brought this up. But now that what is the existing law has very clear, even
yes.
timelines defined.
Yes, the timelines are very clear that within 6 months this has to be done. Within 3 months, you have to give time for them to reply. Both the parties deserve a chance to be heard. So all these provisions are there in order to ensure that when an inquiry is also being made, it is a fair inquiry. And that is why the external representative, generally from organizations which are working for women related issues, so they are also an essential part of this. Uh, it would be like I think it would be definitely possible that in certain instances it is because of the presence of that one member the committee can be moved, because in general like ultimately all the people of the workplace are from the same organization, like they know the ins and out, and sometimes I can I can foresee that there would be a this thing that ultimately it's our own colleague. Do we want this type of क्या हम ये ऐसा होने दे सकते हैं कि उसकी जिंदगी पे इतना बड़ा दाग लग जाए. It happens on both the sides. So
It happens for both the
yeah,
sides.
and a lot of the times they have to act like with a lot more difficulty, and it is a very pressurizing job with no added benefits.
Okay,
And
being the person on the other side, I can share with you one thing that the
yeah,
interesting fact is that what has been my experience being an external member in such committees, it is usually that now even the corporates, at least the bigger corporates, try to stay clean. So they don't take much initiative. It is usually the responsible. They mainly depend on the external to take a lot of decision, so that there is a more neutrality into it. They try to let the external lead the show, which is much easier because obviously the external person is a neutral person, and
yes,
because this law is female oriented, usually the external person is kept to be female. So that we are having a much more power over the whole concept. Uh, yes, the law is slightly biased towards the men and in favor of the female, which as of now, I think most of the female laws are. Yes, there is a controversy that why this law is not still gender neutral, which many countries have made it.
Yeah.
Yes, but in India, we still need to protect a lot of females then.
Yeah.
Uh,
So yeah, the idea behind that is that, see, like in 100 of these cases, even if we are taking a very uh, like at worst it can be like 90 to 10, like, and most probably it is going to be 99 is to 1. That for every 99 cases of sexual harassment against the women, there might be one case of sexual harassment against the men at
uh,
best.
yeah,
That is why, like
maybe,
this,
maybe not. Let's not get into that because
yeah,
that would be a huge controversy to get in how many
yeah,
proportion. Because interestingly, younger sexual harassment of boys seems to be more than the than not. But yes, let's not get into that thing. We are still, we are a country. We are still actually looking at the idea of harassment. We are even rape cases. We are not looking at gender neutral. That is even still not a law which is gender neutral in our country. Thank
yeah,
God POSCO is. At least the
yes.
boys are saved. At least the boys
Mhm.
are saved. But yeah, we have still left the men to
Yeah.
fight for themselves.
I think in this context, I think there is one other point that will slightly deviate from our topic, but I think I'll mention. So when there was this whole debate about Section 377, that is about the as they call it, carnal intercourse against the order of nature, which is generally equated to as displaying homosexual behavior or not. So then the Delhi Commission for Protection of Child Rights, they had made an intervention that please do not remove this provision from the statute book completely, because it is having a higher punishment as compared to the then POXO. Because if there is an unwanted carnal intercourse against the order of nature subjected to anyone, given that our rape laws are not gender neutral, then this provision must stay. And even till now, even though it is said that Section 377 has, that is not exactly the, it is not that Section 377 as a whole is unconstitutional. Only when in the case of consenting adults, it is said that that provision you cannot be using. So instead of making the whole law as unconstitutional, in legal parlance, they call it has been read down.
Okay, interesting. Okay, coming back to workplace sexual
Yes,
harassment.
coming back to the
Uh,
issue at hand.
yes. Would you like to share any case per se that you might have ever seen and your experiences?
So yeah, the so then again I'll come to this very interesting and relevant point that the all these cases, the case file, all the documentation, it is supposed to be kept confidential in nature. And I have seen and heard instances where people are actually like keeping all these case files, who are actually having to deliver the final outcome. They are going to keep them in lockers in order to ensure that none of the information gets leaked out. So, like, although there are numerous instances wherein the identity is revealed, there is like it becomes a public affair, but uh,
A lot of them
and
have become
yeah,
in past.
yes, and but on the other hand, at a lot of times, people who are in that position act in a very responsible manner. As I mentioned,
Yes.
they'll keep those case files in their bank locker. So there is a lot of like
Indeed, in my case, I had sometimes in these cases asked people to meet me outside in my clinical setup instead of me coming over there. I have in few cases even demanded people to come to my clinic so that it's not in the workplace that I'm coming that people would come to know. I
yeah,
have in few cases actually demanded people to come outside and meet me in my clinic instead of me going there.
so
Yeah, checking both the sides, but
yeah.
yes, also meeting them at my space.
So I think, given that we are, I think this is another thing that should be covered. Given that we are now in a digital age where and now we are all working from home. So effectively now the workspace is also our home, and any form of sexual harassment that takes place through these mediums is also covered under the Prevention of Against the Sexual Harassment Act. So in case that includes if there are any work related conversations on your WhatsApp, on your email, on Skype, because most of us are using video calls these days. So all of these, so the foresight has been such that how the laws have been prepared in order to ensure that all these things are also covered. So the workplace is not just your office, your cabin, your cubicle. It extends almost everywhere where you take your work.
Where the staff is moving. But interestingly, the second part is it is not only for the staff. It is
Yeah.
also for the clients coming in or guests walking in. That
Yes.
too are covered under this law.
Yeah, so like we often we criticize our parliamentarians and lawmakers that what do? They don't do any work. But the process of drafting legislations it takes a lot of time for a reason, because they want to ensure that all of these things are covered to the maximum extent. Like I'll give you like a lot of the times it is said that our penal code is so old. Like the Indian Penal Code is I think 1870. We have so many. The Contract Act also goes to
Well,
the
before I was
1900s.
born.
Yeah. So we have
Yeah.
to realize that they have drafted it in, so Indian Penal Code is 1860. So we have drafted it in such a way that even the new forms of offenses keep being covered, and we don't have to bring in a new law for all of them.
Yeah, the maximum, obviously, I think the better far-sighted the law is, the better it is.
Yeah.
Uh, yes, the workplace sexual harassment case, if we see it only for females, yes, it has been drafted very well. There are a lot of things which have been covered over there. The time limit, the people who would be involved, how it will be conducted, it is very well drafted. But the how is it implemented is again a different ball game. Uh, Bigger corporates, and I would still say that most of the people are very careful about this law. The corporates are taking real care about the fact how these things work, because it's a lot of reputation at stake and a lot of obviously the company would even, if the company doesn't take an action, if the committee doesn't take an action, there can be a action which can be taken against them.
Yeah. And
So
in
there's
this
enough
regard,
of that. Yeah.
yeah, in this regard, I think all the big corporates and even the very small startups and organizations of this nature, they are also taking care in order to not just like put that in some email, just send them that see this is there, which can go unnoticed at times. So there are specific campaigns that they initiate within their organizations, especially the government organizations and all, that in case there is anything, this is the way how you are supposed to contact. These are the provisions that your identity will be kept confidential. A lot of the times this information is not known to someone who has got into this who has been subjected to this situation. I should be careful with my words.
Yeah, being a lawyer, you're more, you should be more
Yeah.
careful about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, Implementation, yeah, that's why I had said that, as per the law, I think it is 8 people, even a company as small as having 8 people should be
Yeah.
having a committee in place. There are enough laws to define that the who all would be part of the committee, because if you're being harassed by your senior or the senior most,
Yeah.
who would be involved, because if you're reporting, if you're the committee cannot be the person closer to or somebody who's under the person who's been they are basically who's the perpetrator, so
Yeah.
it has to be defined that way. So there's a lot of rules around it.
Yeah, so so that is there is a general provision also that it cannot be that one man cannot be the judge in his own case. Although
Which
there have I'm sure you are going to come to that. So there have been some instances, I should not say numerous, that the person in power is either deciding the whole issue. I'll not name this
We don't
particular
need to.
instance.
Yeah,
Everyone
yeah.
knows it, but or they are the ones who are setting up the committee to which will investigate this. So it is, although yes, we have taken great strides forward, but as always with all the types of laws in our country, there is of course still a a big step and a number of big steps that are still left to be taken.
Yeah. Something which I would like to bring up over here is a different angle to this also. Uh, Interestingly, it comes from one of my clients whom I'm seeing even till now, who has been at a very senior position in a corporate, has herself been a major person of the committee, was herself being sexually harassed at one stage. Uh, but that was actually hearing the other side of how things play out. Uh, she never herself had the capacity to confront and bring or rise a committee over there. She got scared herself.
Mhm.
Besides, she knew the laws, she knew how it was functioning, everything over there. She
Yeah.
said
So
she actually quit the company without telling what it was. Ultimately, yes, I told her at least you can tell your reporting boss that why you are leaving. You might tell him that you don't want it to be officially written, but because you don't obviously cross referrals would also be needed when you move out of the company. Tell him at least. Don't
yeah,
name the person, don't do anything, but just let him know. So here what I'm coming to is the whole taboo which is there in our own heads. And this
yeah,
is specifically which I would like to talk to all the females over there, because how many times we don't complain because of our own sense of taboo of really coming up with that. Yes, this law was made so that the harassment of the victim is minimal.
yeah.
What Aman started with the story was about how, this Bhavri Devi was, how difficult it was for her to basically file for her cases and how, work on
How
that
many
part,
roadblocks she faced?
how many roadblocks she faced. So this law was actually made so that, it is the facilities available in the campus, in the nearest, in the easiest way. But still, if we will not raise our voice, we will not bring up those issues, it will never be resolved.
Yeah.
I, this is very, it was quite an interesting thing which I heard once from my mother saying to me. She said, oh, I don't know, once I might be talking to my mother and I might have said something, and she said, बच्चे को दूध भी तब माँ पिलाती है जब बच्चा रोता है. And it is a fact that the doctors tell the mother that you should only feed the child when the child cries so that he knows how to suck. The purpose is very medical also. But the fact is you have to fight for your rights.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be given on platter. So if the law might be howsoever strong, the people, I wouldn't say all would be in your favor, all would want you to have justice, but there would be certain people who will be there in your favor and certain people who are supposed to be there in your favor. Otherwise, they will screw up with their own positions over there in the company. So if you want justice for yourself, you have to learn to fight for your justice. So it is important that you know this law. You have to raise your voice if something happens. Yes, if I had once been questioned when I was doing an awareness program for workplace sexual harassment, somebody said that if there is an issue which I don't know if if it amounts for sexual harassment or not, but or I just have a gut feeling that I'm not comfortable with this person. In that case, what can I do? And I had a very simple answer, based even on this law or otherwise. You have all the right to warn the person, stage one. And if not warned, you can actually go and inform the committee. The repercussions might not be severe. They might not, literally throw the person out or something, but there would be some sort of action that would be taken.
Yeah.
So if you have, and here I would like to come tell you one thing, that sexual harassment law very clearly says it is subjective to the victim. It is subjective for the female.
Yeah.
So one person might not feel harassed in a specific situation, other might. So
Yeah.
it is your feeling which is important. It is important that you fight for it. You have to complain for it. Yes, what would be the actual punishment or actual repercussion of what that complaint would be? It might just be a simple warning by the HR to the person.
Yeah.
But if you feel uncomfortable in that situation, it is important that you bring it up.
Yeah, as you have rightly mentioned, that in the first instance, it is important that it is reported, because ultimately, neither in most cases, the victim is also sometimes said that, why do you want to spoil this person's career? So, but these instances, if in even the minor instances, if they are reported, like again, minor being subjective to the person who has been subjected to that. So if they are reported, and it's like, sometimes it will be the case that when the victim herself will say that, you need to stop doing this, or this behavior is not acceptable, then that in fact infuriates the ego of the person. But when that same message will be communicated by someone else as well, there is like, I think this is more from a psychological point of view, so you will probably be the expert in this. Is it possible that if it comes from another person, then it is more likely that the outcome that we wanted can be achieved, that that particular type of behavior can be stopped?
See, over here, I was going to come to something of the sort. The interesting part is that what is covered under sexual harassment is not even understood by the men.
Yeah.
Uh, Simple, your colleague, you send once a Facebook request, she deletes it. You send it again, she deletes it. You send it third time, and she goes to the committee. This can be actually become a concern. It can be filed as a case. So,
Yes.
you know, is that understood by most of the men? No, because in India or in a lot of understanding, it is usually understood the man pursues the female, and
Yeah.
we have blurred that lines of who would pursue the. I mean, how much can we pursue the other person?
Yeah.
So when it comes from an authority, that excuse me, this is wrong. It is more about the whole thing that when the third person says that, it becomes an authority which is coming into play, where the third person says is that this is not allowed. Otherwise, a lot of these lines are anyway blurred in everybody's head. Even um, completely disconnected from workplace sexual harassment. I'll give you a very simple example of once my niece came, and she was sharing with me that she was around her own campus only, and she was on the cycle, and some guy, she felt that somebody was following him. So I said, what did you do? She said, I ran back home. Actually, I asked her, why are you not cycling anymore? So she said, one day one of them were following me. I went back home. So I said, does that mean that you'll ever now not step out of the campus, or what would that mean? So you'd stop cycling because of that? She said, what can I do? I can't call the police for this. I said, you can. You wouldn't wait for the rape to happen
Correct.
to make a complaint. Yes, it might be just a simple warning, or it might because the committee is not over there to just put the people behind the bar or something of that sort. Excuse me, that's the last thing that any committee does.
Yeah.
It might be just It might be just calling the guy and maybe talking it out to him that, what is happening, and, this one is not comfortable with you. So it might just come as that. So it is a subjective feeling, and it might be very minute even. You might want to bring it up if it is important for you.
Yeah. So, I think in this context, we must, like, if I just take this forward, I think the whole aspect about representation also will come in. So, like, nowadays, like, there is an added push in organizations to be more diverse, to be having people from different background, not just men, women, but even people from the LGBT
Trans,
community,
yeah.
uh, sometimes even in government institutions we see that, yeah, there is a promotion for them. I think recently there was some news that I think in Chhattisgarh now the personnel from the LGBT community have been appointed in the local police, which is a welcome change, because normally there are lots of stereotypes that are cast against them. So yes, this issue of
Actually, they are
representation.
coming. Interestingly, I was a few days back. I was actually talking to my father that in the recent past, the amount of news around the LGBT group coming up in different positions is actually, it is a nice change in India. They are actually, it is not obviously easily available, but yes, that change is happening.
Yeah, and
So
I think.
that's important.
Yeah, and I think one more point that I must raise, given my background, considering that we are, I think, all nearing towards the end of this live. So, like, there was a study that was released not so long ago, I believe, in I think around September of 2020. So like, ultimately, a lot of the more serious matters will be reaching up the courts. So decision of the courts, now situation of the courts will have to be considered. Now, as far as I can recall, at that point of time they surveyed about 1000 1080 1070 high court judges that we have all over India. Out of that, not even 100 are women. So that is the sort of the skewed representation that we have. And it's not that women are not lawyers, that they are not elevated onto the courts. And it is definitely not the case that if there is a woman on the bench, so she will be siding with the women or causes of the women only. As we have seen in this case, which was pretty famous around a couple of years back, and is still in the limelight, about the entry of women in the Sabrimala temple. So in that particular situation, the lone women judge was the one who dissented, that no, in the particular interpretation of the religious freedom, that women should not be allowed, considering all the points that were raised. And interestingly, one of the lawyers for that particular movement was also a senior of mine, so I was more up to date on those instances. But as a whole, representation needs to be made more proportionate. Like, we talk about representing seats for women in the assembly elections and parliament, etc. But we have to ensure that representation is given in all forms, not
And all
just.
forms. True.
Yeah, like, and when there are, if they become, say, the chief of the panchayat, they become the sarpanch, then also it's a lot of the time the aspersion is cast that actually this is going to be a form of remote control. And unfortunately, in the administration, we have examples where it was said that, see, in Bihar, when Lalu Prasad Yadav was convicted, so Rabri Devi was made the chief minister. But it was largely concluded that she is not the one making the decisions. So even when the representation is given, like, you have to be, like, women have to be seen as the decision makers in order for all these laws to be actually benefiting.
I would like to add over here the fact that one is seeing females as a remote controlled one, which was even interestingly very recently there's a series by the name of Panchayat where the same thing has been shown. But the interesting part is females not as just being remote controlled by the men. But the fact is that I do talk about this in a more psychological sense over the period of time that, we have been brought up in a culture where even our minds are being not defined by the patriarchal society where we did come from, the men dominated theories. So there is even person's own individual brain. Indeed, today I was doing another event for the Women's Day, and we did talk about there that the worst thing is we have always said the female is the worst enemy of the female, because we ourselves even have that ingrained idea of the men's dominance. So we accept that and expect the other to accept that. So the first person to actually tell the female that you need to shut down, shut up, not tell anybody would be your mother, would be your sister, would be your girlfriend. So basically the females would be the ones who will tell the female that you need to shut down.
Yeah.
You need to fight for your rights. It is actually a men's dominated society. कब तक लड़ोगी? तुम्हें ये बर्दाश्त करना पड़ेगा, तुम्हें वो बर्दाश्त करने पड़ेगा. So good lot of such theories that just shut up. So representation, it'll take these things would take time.
Yeah,
First
that's
of
a
all, yes.
generational concept.
Yeah, it will take time for that true representations to come up. But yes, hopefully they have at least started coming up, and hopefully they would come up. That's why I'm saying that the females need to speak up their mind.
Yeah.
They need to have, nobody, I mean, this was actually coming, I mean, if I'm talking of my mother, she's as of now in her late middle 60s, 70s, something around that. And she was telling me that बच्चे को भी दूध माँ नहीं पिलाती है जब तक the child doesn't cry. So you have to learn to fight for your rights. You would not be given in the platter. Howsoever good these laws might be, whatsoever it might be, till you'll not raise your voice.
Yeah.
You'll be sulking inside. Yeah.
I think to be as it is towards the end. So I think as a conclusion, I think we have discussed at length this aspect of the laws being tailored in one direction. So I think so in this context, it is said that equality is not actually treating everyone equal. Equality is about treating equals equally and unequals unequally. So that is the whole concept and idea behind these laws that are made in our country. And given that they are criminal provisions, they have a very high standard of proof, which is beyond reasonable doubt. So they are not taken lightly. So we do not need to worry so much about that they are not drafted in the adequate manner. Safeguards are taken, but yes, again, equals can be treated unequally, but unequals in the situation have to be treated unequally sometime, and that is why we can say that these are also beneficial legislations.
So let's close it with this on his note, and if there are any queries, you can catch hold of him directly.
Yeah, I think it has been a long session. And
yes.
So, and at the end again, wishing everyone very best wishes for the International Women's Day, not just today, but every day.
Yes. Thank you. And same to you all. We'll close it here. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Aman. Thanks a ton for this.